Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the screencast. New computer, but old math. Don't want to say old teacher because that's not really the case. Anyway, hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, we will be talking about multiplying fractions, and it's our first go around with this in this unit, and we will be working with fractions all through this next unit, which does relate to what we just did with decimals. Decimals are nothing but you can turn all those to fractions. We talked about rational numbers, so you understand where we're coming from here. I want to talk about commutative property. That's going to come in really handy because it lets everyone know to just be brave as we move forward with multiplication, because the commutative property tells us in multiplication, it doesn't matter in this case if the 3 or the 4 are in order. They're both going to equal 12. Same thing goes with our add-ins when we're adding something. Doesn't matter which order they come in, the answer will always be the same. However, slight bit of caution, commutative property is only used in multiplication and addition. Try to do that with subtraction, try to do that with division. You get some very mixed results. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. Get the board, get it going here. There we go. We have a multiplying by fractions problem. And I believe that the hardest thing we're going to do today is changing whole numbers into fractions. I see 2 times 2/5. Fantastic. Step 1, I have to change 2 into a fraction. And I know that every fraction, every counter is simply a division problem. So if I write this 2 and I want to write it as a fraction, I know that 2 divided by 1 is 2. So that's the fraction. Yeah, that works. Any number over 1 is itself. So even if this problem was 10,632 times 2/5, I would change that 10,632 to a fraction by just putting a 1 underneath of it. All right, setting it up like this. And all we're going to do then is multiply straight across. When I say straight across, we're going to be talking about numerators. That's the top of the number at the top, and denominators, which are down here. So I'm just going to multiply our numerators. 2 times 2 does equal 4. And 1 times 5 does equal 5. Another quick look at another multiplication problem. This time, maybe in a word form. Oh, one of my favorite creatures, a sloth. They're after my own heart. They're so slow. A sloth that spends 4/5 of its life asleep. The sloth lives to be 28 years old. How many years does it spend asleep? Multiplication problem indeed. Commutative property tells me it doesn't matter which fraction comes first. I'm going to put the 4/5 first. Slight technical difficulties. My handwriting is usually sloppy, but my board's a hot mess today. Okay, and I want to take that 28 and change it to a fraction. Remembering back to the last slide, how do we change a whole number to a fraction? Simply put a 1 underneath of it. So then I have 28 over 1. All right, now we got some math to do here. We're going to multiply 28 times 4. And my hand's got a little wonky here. So we know 8 times 4 is 32. Carry the 3. 4 times 2 is 8 plus 3, 9, 10, 11, 112. So we have 112 as our numerator because 4 times 28 is 112. And a little simpler is the number below. 5 times 1 is 5. There we go. Now I have a thing called an improper fraction. The thing about an improper fraction is that, well, it's improper. We like to change it to something a little bit more formal. We can change this into a mixed number by simply dividing. Let's go with 112. That numerator goes inside. That's our dividend. We're going to divide that by 5. Does 5 go into 1? Oh, here comes our division again. No, it doesn't. Does 5 go into 11? It sure does. It goes in 2 times. So 5 times 2 is 10. Again, life-changing paper would be most beneficial here. And 11 minus 10 is 1. Oof. Technical difficulties kicking in. Bring down this 2. And now I have to think about, okay, 5 times some number is close to 12 without going over. 2 is 10, 3 is 15. No, 15 is too much, so it's got to be 2. So far, those are quotient. We have 22. 5 times 2 is 10. Trying my best here. My pen slipping away from me. We have 2 remaining. Now, we talked about in our decimals unit continuing. However, we're doing fractions now, so I can easily end right now. That remainder of 2 will be my numerator. And my denominator will come from over here, my divisor. So the answer to 4/5 times 28 is 22 and 2/5. I am so sorry about that 5. It's completely as best as I could do until my pen gets fixed. Hey, we'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you multiply fractions. And ladies and gentlemen, also, thanks for joining us. That was the math you should know.